Hey folks, AJ the CEO here, and from that time lapse, I think I made a big mistake. I mean, I need to do this, but we've gutted all this, and I'm gonna go through rewiring my setup. And like the video I just recently did talking about how presentation software works, I want this video to kind of tie into actually setting up a church. And I've told y'all so many times that everything that I have here that I've set up over my years of YouTube has been a miniature media ministry. And I kind of want to go through the Draw.io design, and you see in action me setting up everything and why I set up the stuff the way I do. So my main workstation, we've gutted everything. And as you can see, I actually have 3 monitors here. The fourth being the video out that comes from my deck link card. So here's my PC. So there's the deck link that comes out of here. That's what goes into my ATEM, and that is powered by ProPresenter. So that sends my lower thirds and things like that. But I want to go through the whole setup of what I'm doing. And I'm going to take a break because I was actually dressed up to go to the VA, but then I started sweating, so I changed my clothes. So I'm going to knock this part out, go to the VA, and finish back. So the very first thing that I have is my workstation. I have one big monitor here. That is a 42, I believe, or a 40 that I have right here. And this is mainly meant for when I'm doing video editing. I can see the output of what I'm actually producing. When I'm doing my Q&As, this is what shows my comments and everything that I'm seeing right here. Then I have 2 other monitors. My computer, I am running a 3070. RTX 3070. So I have a total of 5 outputs, but I think this actually only supports 4 concurrently, which was like, why in the world do you have 5 connections if only 4 work at the same time? But we have that, and I'm going to set this up. And then I did a video on this where I added this little quick access plate that connects and runs all of my connections from my cameras and everything here for my ATEM that normally sits right here. I used to have these stickers tabs here that hold down the cables, but since I got that 3D printer, I don't really use these, and I need to probably rip these off. But that's what I got. And now when I sit here centralized, so I have a stand here that is actually for my camera that would give me a straight on shot, so that I try and have it head level and lower it a little bit so that it's not blocking the TV when I'm doing that. So let's, and because y'all be messing with me, well, not everybody, y'all mess with me because of my cable management. So we've pretty much gotten everything out of here. These are just cables that are left over onto my streaming system over here, my rack. We're gonna do each zone, but we're gonna start with this one right now. And we just got a lot of stuff centralized. So I have 2 Ethernet cables that are going here that are fed to my switch that goes on the other side of that wall. This is for my HyperDeck and for my ATEM that lives here. All the HDMI connections right here, all my audio, all that stuff is there. And this is a cable that's going to, well, this is source. So this is going my display out. But anyway, we're going to talk through all of this. Let's go ahead, and I'm cleaning up and all this other stuff at the same time. Let's get my computer back in place because I got a live stream tomorrow, so I got to have all this stuff in place. Let's go ahead and get the easy stuff out. I explain that, and then we'll go to the next phase. Alrighty, there we go. And once the last monitor was in place, it actually picked up the actual order that I have, this being the centralized one and my left and right. That part is done. We got internet. All of this is set up. So if I was to open up ProPresenter, this is the actual cable that's coming from the deck link that I had hooked up. So this is going to be, that's going to be the output that feeds into my ATEM. This is for my Stream Deck. And like I said, this is for the audio. Let me actually put these up here. So as you can see, here's my connections. And if there's a church that I've installed, you'll see that these are the exact same speakers that I have for you if your media room is away from the sanctuary. So again, I only recommend the same stuff that I use. So now that we got this up, and as you can see, our monitor is not configured because right now this would go to my ATEM, which obviously is not hooked up, and that's the deck link. So everything is looking good so far. Now let's go ahead and get our sound, and we're going to go through the whole setup of how we connect everything and how we're going to use our splitter and all that stuff to get our ATEM set up. So let's do another quick time lapse of setting everything else up. Alrighty, so we got sound. Now I still got to find some placement for my monitor. So I got to figure out how that's going to be, because I need the camera to stay straight on, but we need some space for this other monitor here. Anyway, what we're going to do now is add our video mixer. I'm going to do that last. I'm going to do my sound right now. So we're going to add our Rodecaster 2, and this is what's going to be my audio interface for my mics and everything like that. And we connect this into this system and the other system. That's why I like this, because it gives me two USB connections. So one of them will come to this computer, the other one, number 2, will go to my streaming system, so that's how this can be shared with both. Let me do a little cleaning, and all we got to do is, that's why I got these red anchor cables, and we're going to connect that. One of them is going to be long enough to go to this system, the other one is long enough to plug into here. Alrighty, sound is connected, and we can verify if everything is working, because we'll turn this on and we should see a new listing here when everything is fully powered on. Alright, that's on. Under here we should have an option, and there's our Rodecaster, so that is connected fine. If I press that, then all the audio will be routed here instead. Now the audio and the ATEM and all that stuff, we're going to cover that later, but we're just doing a piece at a time to get all of our source straight, so that when we do connect everything to our video switcher, we'll know how everything is working. So again, this is still isolated by itself. We're not doing any other stuff. Now, what I want to do in this monitor is that I want to actually duplicate this monitor. So this is going to be our 4th monitor out, which is going to be going to our ATEM. So we're going to duplicate that, and all we really need to do is just run another cable that's going to come into our ATEM. So we'll do that here in a second. So let me grab a cable. There we go. Grab one of these, and that is going to connect down here at a later moment. Now I did this just to make this easy, so that the ATEM and all that other stuff, we don't have to worry about it. We just change the connections on the bottom, because in this stationary position, and most of the time at a church, you're really not disconnecting a lot of stuff all the time. And that's kind of the reason why I had a second ATEM, because when I used to do a lot of streaming for schools and stuff, I would break down all of this and move it, and I hated doing that. So that's what we did with this one. We got another ATEM. The other one is going to stay here stationary. So I just put these in order. We have our headphone, mic 1, mic 2 in. This is actually for a HD base T connection. So I just have that right there. Then we just go in order. So HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have our Multiview and our program out. And then we have some other little connections that I'll show you how and why I did it that way. So let's now go ahead and bring the ATEM back over to its home, and we'll hook everything up. Alright, so we got our ATEM set up. Again, nothing is really connected to it yet, because we need to make the connections on the back end. So just like I always tell y'all about when I set this up, this is my mixer, even though we have another mixer right there. I need to play around with using that more. But from here, just like with that other mixer, we need to connect our main out for our sound system that we're going to hook mics up to this and all this stuff. And for me, those are my main outs. So we're going to run with this dual 1/4-inch cable. And then we're going to loop this over here. And I'm trying to maintain organization and neatness of my cables while I'm doing this. So let me set you down here for a second. So all we're going to do is, just like with y'all sound system, with your Allen and Heaths, your Yamahas, your X32s, your Wings, whatever your mixer is, I am pulling from the main out. Now, I don't have a house sound. The house sound is for me. So if I had like a sanctuary or something like that, and I needed to have two different zones, that's when I would probably use the mixer that I have on the floor, and I would have a live stream mix and a house mix. But again, I don't have to do that because when I put my headphones into this mixer, that's already giving me my quote unquote sanctuary mix. And the cable that I'm hooking up that is bundling up like crazy is what's going to connect to the ATEM directly. So now that I got my cable untangled, I'm going to loop this over here, and I am going to Velcro zip tie these cables so that I won't have a whole lot of this. So because I put that little 3.5 keystone, all I have to do is actually come up under here and plug this up under here right there. So let me see if I can put you in a place so you can actually see what I'm doing. So right here is where I'm connecting that. And I'll probably have to add this later so y'all can see it properly. Oh, so we're just going to plug this in here. That's the second one. So right there. So hopefully y'all can see that. Right in there, we plug that up. And if I had a longer cable, I would connect the XR16 the same way and just run that into mic number 2. And I actually might do that now that I think about it, so that I can actually use both systems. So actually, let me just run this cable, plug that, and we'll do the same thing. All right, so I got the other cables connected, but obviously they're not long enough, so I just ordered some longer cables so that I can run that, wrap it around, and connect it down here. So we should be good to go once that's done. All right, so let's go ahead and start bringing online the ATEM, and we can start getting our routing. I do have a cable that's coming from here that needs to go to this monitor, which is going to be my Multiview. So how do we do that? So let's chase the line that we ran back from here, which is here, a fiber optic HDMI cable. Let me put you down for a second. All right, so all of that we're going to roll up, and that is connected to our Multiview out already. So let's go ahead and power everything on. And like I tell y'all before, I have the Casa plug, and I'm just reaching down to turn this one right now. Those are actually smart connectors, so I can turn this on remotely. And if we did everything right, there's our Multiview. So that is the feed of that fiber optic HDMI cable that goes here, so that when I look over to the right, there's my Multiview. Now we need to connect our first camera here. That is going to go onto the jack under here, which is input number 1. So let's go ahead and let's run our cable first. Let's connect this to the back up under here. And this is the only not so fun part. But like I said, this is the reason why I did this, so that I don't have to continuously disconnect and reconnect and do all that stuff. And my monitor fell once I did that. But we got that connected here. Gonna route this cable, and this is the equivalent of running cables in the walls and all this other stuff, or putting a jack on the wall. So we got it there connected, and if we turn it on, there we go. There's our image right there. And we just got to rinse and repeat and do that for all of our cameras. And we also need to bring in our computer. So if we still have ProPresenter up, that is supposed to be this output right there. So that's input number 7. Let me bring my ProPresenter over here so y'all can see. And if I just bring up my backgrounds, that's ultimately what we should see on number 6, because that's how it's routed. So the same way, let's go ahead and connect this to number 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right here. And actually, let me go up under here and do this. All right, that is connected here. As you can see, there we go. So all we did was, it's just a plate that makes it easier, stationary, because again, those connections in the back should not change that much. All I do is connect under here, have shorter cables, thinner cables. It makes it a lot nice and neater. Yes, I could have drilled a hole in here and ran it up, but I didn't want to do that. It was my desk. So we do that. Let's zip this up, and I think I've gone a little bit too long. Let's go to the VA and we'll come back and finish up everything else. Alrighty, so my plans of going to the VA didn't go through. Ended up doing some grocery shopping, but we're back, and I finished setting up kind of the basics of what I got. So you see I have the camera showing up, everything. We got the PTZs hooked up, all of that stuff, so it's showing. And we got our sound going through, because you can see the mic is picking me up from right here. That's showing up here, and that's being routed through mic 1. Mic 2 is not going to be set up until the extra cables coming in tomorrow. That way we can hook up that sound mixer. So that will be for my wireless mics, if I have my keyboard down here to play or something like that. So what's the next thing we got to do? So for right now, as you can see, like in the media room, this is my Multiview. But where is the main program out? So in here, we do have our program out, and it's going here. But how do I need to split my signal so that I can have multiple outputs. So the same way over here, I have this other camera and my setup here, and I thought the tracking was on. It's not. But then I have my overhead, so when I do work here, I can actually see what's going on. But the problem that I had with this is I have no idea if I'm being lined up with everything. So I have a full screen right here that I have another fiber optic HDMI cable that's ran through this conduit, goes up, and it runs back this way. But if I hook that up, I only have one output. I also need to see another output so that I can see what else is going on. So we have one output right there. We do have another output that needs to, the full screen needs to go to my hyperdeck shuttle so that I can record everything. So how do we do that? This is where we're introducing a splitter. So this is a 1x4 Ori 4K splitter, even though I'm not using it for 4K. So we have our main signal that's coming out of here, going into the splitter, and then I have that cable that comes right here. So let's give it some power. And here is our input. So this is the signal that's coming in. And here is the fiber optic HDMI cable that goes to that. So let me switch to a different camera. Let's switch over to the Fumaco that we got right here. And as you can see, nothing is there. We're going to first hook up this one. This is going to give me a feed into my HyperDeck shuttle so that I can actually record. Because if I do the program out, yes, I could be recording directly from this ISO, but I have two of my USBs. One is going to this computer, the other one is going to this one, so that vMix, my live streaming, can pick up everything. And we'll talk about that in the other video when we talk about video switchers and why you use software when you combine them. So now the full screen out goes in, comes into the splitter, splits the signal. We got one feeding back into this so we can record everything. The other one, and this cable's a little tight, this will be the feed that I'm running to my screen that's behind me. So now, there we go. There is my feed so that I can see everything that's going on when I am doing, you know, stuff where I'm working here at the desk, so I can actually see what's going on. I do have another joystick here so I can actually control the cameras if need be. I would have put this one over here, but as you can see, we're running out of real estate to put all this stuff here. But now that's how I have this out. Now I do have another way of, I have another camera upstairs that I could feed upstairs when I used to do stuff on the couch and everything like that. But the mindset is, this is how I have my full screen out. So let's break it down from a church standpoint. In this same scenario, I'm sending this out to my recorder if you had something like that. I have another one here that is going to the quote-unquote TVs in the sanctuary. Then I still have two more outputs that I could send this to, say if I needed to send something out to a overflow, which would be like TVs upstairs or anything like that. Now another out that I could do with this is this computer here is my secondary streaming system that I'm playing around with different platforms to stream to. So we got OBS here. Now I could run another feed out of here, which will be solely from the ATEM, and just like you see that camera, that's what will show up here. I could do that. I don't want to do that, but we'll talk about that in other sections. So now I have this, and I got this little basket that I used originally for cable routing. I'm gonna set this in the basket, and then the basket is actually going to mount under the desk right there, so that gets that up out of the way. So let me do that real quick. Alrighty, that's all there. Now the other thing that I did, let me log in here. That fourth connection that I had on my video card is I have that routed into the ATEM. So now we've duplicated this screen and this screen. So I can look here, but that's what I have set as my super source. So at this point, we have my front camera connected. We have my left PTZ that's right behind me coming in here. We have our extra, and it looks like it's the same image, but it's really not. That is my display cast, my unified display cast. What I actually ordered is I'm gonna have a 4N/1 switch, so that I can connect my Mac, this, my HD base T, and then something else, and with a press of a button that routes into number 3, so that could be whatever I choose at the time. So right now it's displaying the digital signage that I'm making for the conference. So it looks like it's the same, it's really not. So if I come over here and let's actually put something completely different on here so we can show that it's something different. So it says Mac Mini, that's when I had my Mac connected, but ideally I'm gonna put a switch in there which is gonna give me 4 more inputs here, and depending on whatever I press. That's what I suggested to Norton Avenue Church in Pennsylvania and Bristol for their same setup. So they wanted to have, how can we bring in the computer, because they're using up all their inputs. So you can always put a splitter on this, a switch on each one of these inputs, and you can have more. So if we did it all, we can have 4 inputs on every single input if we wanted to give us more functionality. That's just something that I did to make it easy, because yeah, I could get myself a Constellation that would give me more inputs, but that's overkill for me. I don't need anything like that in my scenario right now. So for me, I would just have a 4 input, 1 output switch. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, or I have this other computer here so I can show what's going on that screen. That's how I solve the extra stuff and give myself more inputs on here. Now I went over a whole lot of stuff. So let's go and get in front of Draw.io and let's go ahead and design this whole thing so you can actually see exactly how it flows. Because again, I think it is very wise for you to document your setup so that if you have any issues, you know exactly what to do and how to address it and see where stuff might be broken and all that other fun stuff. So let's go over to the computer. Alrighty, so we're here and I'm actually utilizing the ATEM and everything that we set up. So obviously this is working. And you always wonder if I'm looking down. That's the reason why, because I'm looking at my screen right here. So if I sync this up real quick, you can see this is what I'm looking at when I'm actually doing this. So that's how I can make sure I'm seeing everything and I'm not going all over the place. And I want to make sure that I'm lined up perfectly and things like that. So in here, let's go ahead and switch over to our super source. So that is now connected. You're seeing the monitor that's being duplicated into the ATEM. That is now an input that I've mapped into this location with my super source. I'll tag the video where I talk about that. And I've cropped this shot and I need to move over a little bit so I'm perfectly in center with it. And that's how we got this going. So let's do my setup, AJ the CEO, and this will be version 3 of my whole setup. So let's go through. We have our ATEM Mini Extreme. And I'm gonna try and put this as close as possible with how I have everything set up relative to its location. So we have our Rodecaster 2 as sound mixer number 1. Then we have our XR16 that will be hooked up shortly. Now I'm going to include some other computers and we'll grow into this as we do more videos so you can understand how everything is set up. We have our, I'll say this is my PC number 1, which is my main one. And then we have my PC number 2, which is my vMix, my streaming system. And then we have our other system here, PC 3. And this is my own cast, my kind of test bed system that I test stuff out to make sure things are good before I do any of this stuff. Now let's set up our cameras. We have our Blackmagic Micro Cinema Camera 2nd Gen right here in front of me. Then we have our ETZ Optics over here. Then we have our BZB gear right here. Then we have our Bamako right there. And which I didn't show you, I actually have a PoE switch that's behind me that powers all this stuff. We'll talk about that later in a networking video. But I'll do my PoE switch here. And I didn't even show you my whole network lab closet and all that other fun stuff. So this is my switch here. And this is going to get out of control real quick. We got 2 joysticks. We got one. Let's make this one a little bit smaller. We got this one right here that's on the table behind me. Then we got the other one that's right here beside the Rodecaster. And let's move this up a little bit so we can have some more space. And we'll put this camera right in between there so we can have a little bit more space. All right, now let's go through how everything is wired up. First, from our audio, we have the Rodecaster that is connected into mic number 1. Drop this down a little bit. And we use red for our audio. Let's move this back again. So that's red. And once we get our other cables, this will be for mic 2. So we'll label this mic 2 and mic 1. Those are our inputs for each one and how that is going to each. So that's how we're pulling in all of our audio from everything. All right, and I guess I should have made these closer, but they're really not. Now, for our USB, we have USB number 1 from the ATEM is going into the computer I'm on right now. We have USB number 2 coming into my second system. That's how it gets the audio and video feed that is going there. All right. And let's connect our cameras. We got our Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera G2. That is connected over a HDMI cable that's right here. Do that as input 1. Then we have the Bamako PTZ. That is actually connected to number 2. So that'll be input 2. Number 3 is going to be my splitter. So for right now, I'll just use this. This will be my 4x1 HDMI switch. And we'll do more of that later. And let's slide these over. That is connected to number 3, input 3. All right. And like I said, this is where it's going to start getting a little messy with the wiring. All right, so we got, let's slide that down so it's in line. All right, so we have output number 4 from my computer is going into input number 4 on the ATEM. So that's going to be input 4. All right, so what is input number 5? Number 5 is our overhead. So let me move this up here. So that'll be my overhead PTZ. That is connected with a fiber optic HDMI cable because of the length. And that's like a 40-foot cable. That's input number 5. And I actually forgot the camera, my other camera. I had more than I thought. And then this is the BZB Gear PTZ. This is input This is input 6. And I really need to slide these over so you can easily see which one is which. The input 6. Now, because we have a decklink card specifically that's sends out commands from ProPresenter. Let's actually move it this way. We're going to have this. This is input number 7 into our ATEM. Input 7. And I'll say this is from the decklink. And then last but not least, the PTZ optics move. That is the camera over here to the right. And that is with a fiber optic HDMI cable as well, about a 30 foot. So that's input 8. Whew. All right. So now if we have to add our PoE switch, because the PoE switch is powering everything. So when I say the command, it actually would turn off all this PoE stuff at the same time. So I have this connected to each one of the cameras that provides power, each one of the joysticks. So I have a cable ran all the way up behind my desk that goes to each one of these. PTZ optics move. And the FOMACO. And again, that is Cat 6. Ran to all of these. And the Blackmagic Cinema camera, that's powered off of a regular power, so I got to reach up here and turn that off. Not a big deal. And I guess I should put another computer here for my Mac here, but that's pretty much my layout just at this desk right now, of how I have this set up. This is my routing. So out of all of these inputs, all of the blue that are going in, and let me change that one to blue to make it easy because that is HDMI. All of the blue inputs 1 through 8, this allows me to pick whatever that you're seeing right now. So the same way, if I cut over here and I don't have my controller set up, the micro panel, this makes this easier because with more stuff on my desk, it makes it harder to reach over here. So I actually need to run one more cable here so that I can power this. So we got it lit up now. So in this scenario, you see input number 1. We got input number 2 over here. Then we got number 3, which is the display cast that I have connected. Number 4 is the computer monitor that you just saw. Number 5 is my top-down view of my overhead camera, PTZ. Number 6 is my BZB gear that's looking off into my server closet, and I'll just move it over here so you can actually see me right there. Number 7 is my ProPresenter output. So if I come up here and want to flash some scripture, or you know what, I'm going to flash something that is really important. Like the For Me Missionary Conference is coming up in July 18th and 19th. So that's coming out of my ProPresenter here. And then if I go to number 8, this is the last camera my PTZ optics move. So in this same setup, like I said, folks, when I do this, this is a miniature version of a media ministry, so that everything that I have here shows how I can function and do the same stuff. So when I talk to y'all and give you examples of how stuff works, I'm doing it in-house because I have it set up the exact same way. Granted, I don't have a big mixer. I used to have one, but ended up selling that. But I have sound mixers so that I have that routed in. I do have wireless mics and everything that will function the exact same way if I was connecting to this. We have multiple outputs, so we can have like the back screen, as you can see right there, showing the exact same thing that's going on here. We have the same capacity to live stream and all this other fun stuff. So we've played around with this for a while, and this whole setup was built based off of the more and more that I would help more churches, and I would need more examples. And again, like I say all the time, I don't guinea pig on any of y'all. I play with this stuff here myself. Everything that I've recommended to any ministry, I would hope you've seen, I actually use the same thing. The Castle Smart Plugs, I've been using them for years. So I had a couple of people saying that they're not reliable. I've been using them for quite a while with no issue. The cameras, the PTZs, the joysticks, the sound, all this other fun stuff. And we haven't even scratched the surface on everything else. But I'm going to have a link down below. I'm updating my studio, and I'm just giving you the tour, documenting that whole thing. Let me know if you have any other questions. Hopefully some of the stuff that I gave you an example of this and gave you some insight behind the scenes of what I'm doing and giving me an opportunity to clean up some other stuff here. So we still got the, let's cut over to this one over here. We still got my live streaming system over here. We still got our miniature rack down here, which has my networking switch, my XR16. I didn't even include the other, my other switch that I actually have right here that you see right here. That is the other Unify switch. I got a Unify switch here, another one there, and then I got my server, quote unquote, my server room that shows all of my networking as well too. Let me know if you want me to go through that, because again, when I install the Unify stuff, I have it here first so that I'm comfortable with it, because I wouldn't dare install something or recommend something to another ministry when I haven't done it myself. So when y'all have questions, I have the same setup here. So let me know what other stuff that you want me to go deep dive in, because again, I am going to do this system. Then my other system that I'm doing here, which is my test bed that I play around with stuff, and my own cast server and all this other fun stuff that we're playing around with, and more toys, so that we can get everything prepped for our conference coming up and just for future needs that I see media ministries are going to. I play around with this here first, and then we go from there. But link is down below to every single thing that I have. I'll update my blog with all of this and try and keep that updated, because I used to use other stuff and those services have been less reliable. So I'm going to move all this stuff over to my website, so we don't have to worry about that. And I think that's about it. So if you like the type of content, appreciate a like, consider subscribing, hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry and show you behind the scenes of what we got going on here at Casa de la Homes or Camelot, whichever one. So anyway, folks, this is AJ. Y'all have a great day, and we'll be seeing y'all on the next video. Later.